when I got the news from the engineers was pretty crushing. In the days and weeks since, it's been a very much a roller coaster of emotions. The sanctuary was forced to close because the plaster ceiling, which is what the whole ceiling is made up of, is collapsing in on itself. The structure of the church is held up by steel trusses, and then attached to that is several wood beams that are holding up the sanctuary ceiling. And what the problem is that those wood beams are disconnecting from the steel structure in the ceiling, and then that's causing the ceiling to slump in several areas. And the fear is that could let go at any point. It's likely that the whole sanctuary ceiling is going to have to come down and then be replaced. And my sense is we couldn't fix that on our own.
We are not the only church struggling, and I know that every church thinks that they're going to be the one that goes on because we matter to ourselves and hopefully to the community, but I don't think we all are.
The congregation had started in 1895, and we were into our third minister by 1910. He was coming over from Scotland to take over. The church that we had been functioning in was on Notre Dame, and we decided to build this building here. So it was structured in 1910. In those days, people came to church. They didn't come to church just on Sunday morning. Church was an integral part of their lives. There's no question this building was connected to the general community in so many ways.
Westminster has a huge impact on the community. We have the Bell Tower Community Cafe, which is a food bank and an entertainment source for folks in this area and around the city. It has real staying power in the community because it is a food bank, and Winnipeg has its needs for that.
The group International Hope, which collected medical supplies to send to developing countries, was founded by members of the congregation. The Westminster Housing Society was founded at Westminster.
We've got housing not only on the street here, but all around the community. Housing that is low income, but quality places to live.
And then we've got Cubs and Scouts and Girl Guides and Families Anonymous, the list goes on and on. So the building is a tool for the church to reach out into the community.
The arts community in Winnipeg, musically speaking, depends on Westminster quite a bit. So, the Manitoba Chamber Orchestra obviously uses our space on a regular basis, which is a huge loss to them. Chorally speaking, every major choral group in the city uses Westminster at least once in their season. A choir might have 3 or 4 concerts in a year, and Westminster will be home to the big one. Now it's been 3 years, going on 4 years, since those groups have come in, and it's tragic.
Being an old building, it's a challenge to keep this place functioning, but not an insurmountable challenge. The challenge we currently find ourselves in has been a little more insurmountable.
The loss of the sanctuary is huge. Coming out of the pandemic, you just hope to get back to normal, and then all of a sudden the sanctuary is closed and we can't meet where we have met for a century. That's tough.
When we were told, it took us a few weeks, and then we pivoted to hosting our services in the lecture hall in the back.
It's unfortunate we can't be in the sanctuary, but it's nice because we're all kind of closer together.
It's almost like being in the lecture hall. I've seen some faces I haven't seen in a long time. And so at least being closer to each other in the lecture hall has brought back a little bit more of that sense of togetherness, which is great.
The congregation has persevered through COVID and this recent closure because it is so tight-knit, and it is like a family.
I've had a very fulfilling time here, and the people, I love them. I really do. We have some grand people here, and I count them as friends.
People come back to Westminster because it is a warm place to be, and people love it here, and I think it is definitely a home away from home for me.
I haven't met a single Winnipegger that hasn't had something happen here at Westminster. It's amazing. I met my now husband, here at Westminster. Back in May of 2012, Brandon came for the first time, and in 2019, we got married on the same spot we met. That's a really fond memory, obviously. And how many people get to say they got to marry their partner on the same spot they met? And it just happens to be in a church. There's countless stories of Winnipeggers that have had really great experiences here at Westminster. So it's not just about the congregation, but it's really about the community.
We've been able to continue functioning as a church, keeping our group together, but we haven't been able to reach the broader community as well as we would like.
Every conversation I have with members here is very much about like, how can we do what Westminster is really about, which is reach out rather than be insular. Survival is getting in the way of why we're here in the first place.
We have no idea what the costs are going to be. That's yet to come, and that's yet to be a shock for whatever it's going to be. The church can't do it alone. It's just not possible. The congregation is just one entity that uses Westminster Church. We really need that help. We have the strength to do it, but not the resources.
Thankfully, Winnipeg has a lot of granting agencies for being a fairly small city in the middle of the prairies. So there's a variety of different organizations available to look at. Whether they will all be able to or choose to support a project like this, that remains to be unknown.
To move forward, we need to have more people in this building on a regular basis, or it's just purposeless. We really do need to figure out how are we going to manage this space moving forward. And I think we need to be open to bringing in outside partners because the building will become separate from the congregation in some way. It has to. We just cannot manage it on our own anymore. But it is a beautiful place and it's got a lot to offer, this building. And I do think if we could turn it more into a community hub, the better for everyone.
It's not clear to me what the next steps are. There's lots of unknowns and we'll have to work through what the possibilities are once we get our full engineering report and see if we can make an attempt to do something here.
I think we sometimes forget because our building is so extremely beautiful and such a huge part of who Westminster is that it really is not the church.
You know, the building is just the building. It's called Westminster Church, but Westminster Church is really the people.
I always have in the back of my head that we are doing our best. We want to go on, but if we don't, it doesn't mean that what came before didn't matter. It's not a failure. There's over 130 years of people who have called themselves Westminster Church and have made a difference in the world.
What will happen when it opens again? Who knows? It could be the end, or it could be the start of something quite different.
The congregation will persevere in some form, despite the building. The community is so strong, it kind of supersedes any physical space we could be in.